And the next presentation is from Emma Linford. Over to you, Emma.
Thank you, Tracy. Hello, everyone, and thanks for still being here. It's been a long day, but very rich, as people have said before me. I feel that being in this position, a second to the end, I've really benefited from all the richness come before me, actually, and I feel very supported and supported in the presentation I'm about to give. So a small amount of context. I'm on the MA for Mind Movement and Ecology. And the reason I find myself there is because I have an inquiry into outdoor education and society. I have been in the industry for 14, 15 years, developing people using being an apt word, using the outdoors to help people grow, to develop their potential to just go back into a civilized society, or to use the environment as refuge for those people to then go back into civilized society. And I believe there is massive potential in changing this narrative. And that's why I'm on this course, to be part of that change. This presentation I'm about to give is an adaptation of a piece produced for an assessment entitled Movement Ecology Across Scales. I've chosen to answer it as an experimental embodiment to step into an alpine ecosystem in an online domain. Together, we'll be exploring the temporality of a dynamic, interconnected alpine landscape through scales of geological, hydrological, meteorological, and species movement. So this may be a longer embodiment piece that you may have experienced previously. It may be between 8 and 10 minutes. So I ask you to choose a place where this is appropriate for you to have some quiet. You may want to lie down for this. And if you have a stone nearby, a rock, a stone nearby, please place it next to you, and I'll guide you through this embodiment meditation. I hope you all have settled. Close your eyes. Notice your breath, the inhale and the exhale. Notice the sensation of the inhale within the hairs of your nose. Now notice your heart beating within your chest. Maybe you can sense the rub, dob, dob of its beat. Perhaps put your fingers on a pulse point, such as your wrist or neck, or perhaps lay one hand upon your heart and keep your hand there. Consider now the vitality of your heart and picture it as the control room. Here, oxygen transfers from the lungs to this pump that delivers the new cycle of oxygenated life around your body, cycling and recycling, flow. I invite you now to bring to mind an alpine landscape of your own. See its flowing rivers, its steadily moving glaciers, its constant circulation of air, cloud, and water in many forms at a diversity of pace. Lie on the glacier and sense the changes to your body. Perhaps your breath feels colder in your nose, or you can see the moisture of your out-breath condense in the cold air. Outstretch your hand to catch the snowflake that weighs 1/1,000,000th of an ounce falling into it. Take a body of water underneath a plate of ice. Notice the dark swirls, or perhaps feel the soft pelts of moss which form on the lee sides of boulders and trees, which are fed by the humidity of the mist. If you have a stone, please pick up your stone and put it in your hand. Sense the water patiently carving a runnel in the face of it. See the apparently motiveless shift of your stone in a scree-filled gully. Feel the ridges and score in the rock where glaciers have passed. I invite you now to play, still with your eyes closed. Perhaps put the stone down beside you. Using the straightness and angularity of the bones of your forearms, elbows, and fingers, take some time to move them around to form the angles of the mountains of your landscape in front of you. Feel not only the outline to the peaks, but the line seen in a whole 360-degree panoramic. Now then, take a deep inhale and exhale. Soften the bones in your arms, elbow and fingers. I now invite you to use your finger to trace the ephemeral outline of the clouds in your landscape. Sense the movement in the clouds around you, and then hear how a hillside comes alive with moving water after a rain shower. To see late summer light filling miles of landscape like an inexhaustible liquid. John Muir said, "Everything is flowing, going somewhere. Animals and so-called lifeless rocks as well as water. Thus the snow flows fast or slow in grand beauty-making glaciers and avalanches. The air in majestic floods carrying minerals, plant leaves, seeds, spores with streams of music and fragrance, on, forever, like blood, in nature's warm heart. Here, in your alpine landscape, there is no striving for balance, only equity. There is no waste, no loss of energy. There is only constant change. This is reciprocity of becoming. Please now, holding the alpine landscape within you, take time to connect back to the screen. This is my alpine landscape. The inspiration for this piece was where I stood back in 2016 whilst leading an expedition to Mera Peak in the Hinku Valley in Nepal. The Himalayas, in Sanskrit called the abode of snow, also known as the third pole, covers 5 million square kilometers and are amongst the most severely and rapidly impacted ecosystems on the planet. They are so important in regulating the climate change of the whole of the Northern Hemisphere. There is a direct correlation between the melting glaciers in these regions and the mounting glaciers of Greenland and the polar regions. They are a major part of the Earth's cooling system and the global water cycle, making them intrinsic to climate and weather throughout the world. They can be affected by any change in temperature and precipitation patterns at all scales. Their impact affects all life on Earth beyond country, location, and social boundaries. Over the last few decades, pronounced change of high mountain ecosystems during exceptionally warm summers have raised strong awareness towards changing cryospheric conditions. From the transpiration of water molecules from alpine flora and fauna to the orographic uplift of moisture from the lowlands, this environment is crucial for the healthy functioning of the global hydrological cycle. The Himalaya range alone supplies water to 25% of the global population. Mountains are often called nature's water towers due to them being the origins of the river systems and supply chains. They intercept airstreams, and the upwards trajectory condenses the moisture which falls as rain or snow. This then is stored in various ways, including the formation of snow and ice, which are the main control parameters of the hydrological cycle. This is later released as meltwater during warm seasons. Hydrological extremes regularly cause great damage to the local people via floods, avalanches, and landslides. In 2016, a mandate was developed which comprised of 17 sustainable development goals to protect and restore these ecosystems. The Himalaya range was formed by the tectonic movement of the Indo-Australian plate and the Eurasian plate over 50 million years ago. This slow geological shifting, coined deep time by John McPhee, who said, "The sense of time whose units are not days, hours, minutes, or seconds, but millions of years, crushes the human instant, flattens them to a wafer." These mountains are currently rising at 5 millimeters a year, which still creates geologic instability, often leading to devastating earthquakes affecting rural areas of Nepal, Pakistan, India, and Tibet. As well as the lithospheric movements of mountains are also shaped by physical weathering, such as river erosion, glacial movement, plucking of rocks, and freeze-fall, all of which cause an instability. The rising temperatures increases the devastation from these processes. As abiotic characteristics such as air temperature, precipitation, and snowmelt change over time, so will the biotic communities in the mountain. Some more than human species may be able to adapt to their new environments, whilst others may have the capacity to shift their ranges upward. However, dispersal mechanisms will both amplify the chance for disease outbreaks across widening elevational gradients and limit the immigration of mountain species unable to maintain genetic diversity through lowland migration routes. And the human species and communities that flourish here continue to live within these precarious conditions until they can no longer adapt and have to migrate themselves. Species under a threat of extinction. Thank you. That's the end of my presentation. And I'd welcome your feedback.
Thank you very much, Emma. Are there any questions or comments for Emma?
I feel like I've got a question and I'm just, the words are quite congealed now at this point in the day, and that was very, there was a lot there I didn't know, and I was really pleased to have it. I've heard some of that before, but not all of it by any means at all. So thank you. I mean, that's a kind of bland response, really. At the moment, I feel like if we could stay a bit longer, I'm sure I would definitely have questions, but you know.
Perhaps I can ask a question. I see Monique's got her hand up, but perhaps I can ask a question and you perhaps could answer, which would be the embodiment experiences, which is that which I'm playing with actually as a way to bring an experience to people that are less privileged to be able to go to those areas. And I'm thinking of developing these. Is there any feedback you can give me that you feel did or did not work? Perhaps that's the question.
Because I'm really helpful. I'll answer it and then other people can answer. But I suspect that I gave my honest answer by leaping straight to speak back to your ensuing presentation, and so didn't. What I came back with referred to the second half of it. It didn't directly respond to the first half of it, and that may be the most uncontrived response. It's just that I was in kind of heady sort of information mode and just put that in and came back with a response to that. So I'll see what others say.
Thank you, Matt.
So, Monique, are you responding to Emma's question? Yeah, or something else?
It was something else. I'm actually typing it.
All right, maybe we come back to your question. Emma, are you responding to Emma's question?
Yeah, there we go. I'm muted. Thank you. Yes, I just really wanted to comment that I thoroughly enjoyed the visualization, and you know, for me it really worked as an experiment. I really enjoy that, being given that space within a presentation to have a shared experience, although of course all of our experiences would have been very different. You know, I like the potency of knowing that we have a shared intention and focus, and I really value that possibility of you guiding us into that kind of psychic terrain of visualization. And it, you know, it worked really well for me. I like the way you describe it as giving an accessibility to that experience. You know, that it's not actually, it opened up a real space of longing and desire for me to go to, you know, even walking up hills, that kind of high up space, and being in a kind of clear atmosphere where I can look out. And I also really enjoyed the aesthetic, the beautiful arrangement of your slides with the words. So thank you.
Thank you, Emma. That's very kind. Can I just ask? I've got feedback actually. I'm not sure where that's from. Oh, okay. It's gone now. I'm just wondering. One of the experiments I was doing, which has come from one of our somatic practitioners on the course, is the angularity of the arms and the fingers and the mountains. So I have a specific question around that. Did that work or take you anywhere or put you into the angularity of the stone and the mountain? If anyone can answer that, that would be great too.
Emma, sorry to ask, do you mind repeating your question? Sorry.
Sure, Monique. Specifically, the proposition of asking you to use the bones in the straight arms in your bone and fingers and elbow to create the outline of your landscape, and then to trace with the softness of your finger in the clouds. So to do action in your visualization of that environment, did that do anything? Did that create anything for you?
Can I respond to that? Yeah, okay. That, I mean, it absolutely did. It kind of speaks to how what we talk about when we say what beings are a part of the environment as opposed to apart from, like, you know, there's this foreign or this barrier between human and more than human, whereas there was a visualization that kind of set the foreground, and then we were very much a part of that, and, like, you know, our arms became mountains we drew with our hands, with our fingers. So I felt, yeah, it felt like a very integrated, I felt like I was entering into landscape. And I mean, I've never been to the Himalayas. I don't know much about it outside of images. So I really appreciated what could potentially be quite foreign, but through that visualization, I became very much a part of. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Monique. Perhaps we can jam with that at another time.
Winona, you have your hand raised.
Hello, hi there. Yeah, I was going to answer that question and the feedback thing. Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation. I got maybe slightly stuck when you first said alpine, like, even though I kind of know what, like, I guess I know what an alpine landscape could be, but I like stumbled a bit, and I was thinking like, oh, is it what I think? Is it what I'm thinking of? So I was like, maybe a tad little, like, kind of description could be useful there. And also I was gonna say about the physical, I don't know what you used a good word for it. Physical embodiment, maybe, was it, of like the kind of gesturing the landscape with, you know, hands and bones and things, really worked for me. And I think especially because I'm like neurodiverse, it like really helped to like bring it all into like physical kind of my physical space, you know, and like kind of really create a physical, yeah, landscape, I suppose. So thank you.
Thanks, Winona. That's really valuable.
Minu, have you put your hand down? Or did you have a question?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Emma. I think what I wanted to say was kind of said. I think your exploration of taking us in our imagination to a place where some people don't have the privilege to travel to is really powerful. And I can echo what the other Emma said, that it's wonderful to explore this as a group. I think we explored lots of different scales, and I think it might be interesting for you to explore with which scales of perception you work with in one exercise. So there were lots of different scales of perception in there. I don't know if that makes sense. And yeah, for me, the space of imagination is bringing attention to a place in our imagination is attention has the ability to be very tactile. So I think that the tactility of this experience is very interesting, and how you want to merge it with exploring a place and all the knowledge it holds. I hope that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you, Manu.
I enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Minu. I think that was really helpful, and it falls to me again to brutally move us on, and where there's so much more to say, but there are things